Hello, I'm Tina Heathcote, a Buxton Town Team volunteer and project lead for the Access Parking Traffic and Transport Group. Thank you for watching this presentation on a new walking and riding trail from Buxton to Matlock. In a moment, I will hand over to Janet to tell you more about the routes, and then to Derek, who will talk about the next steps towards creating the new Safer Walk and Ride network. Just a bit of background on how we came to this point. In 2016, Buxton Town Team held a conference, Buxton on the Move. It was increasingly clear that provision was needed for more people to move more swiftly, more easily and more safely around an already congested town as planned developments came to fruition. So, we set up the Access Parking, Traffic and Transport Group and invited key stakeholders to join. They included High Peak Borough and Derbyshire County Councils, the University of Derby, local schools, businesses and residents, and other voluntary organisations. Our primary aim was to develop an holistic travel plan for Buxton, which will soon be out for consultation. We also wanted to create safer travel links to the Peak District National Park. Buxton is really interesting topographically because the town sits beautifully in a bowl, but sadly there's currently no easy or safe way out into the wider countryside for walkers and riders. It was always our intention to develop better access for them, and particularly to the Monsell Trail. Work had already been done on that, but not implemented, and Janet will refer to it shortly, I know. Alongside our work in Buxton, we're very aware that there are moves to reopen the Monsell Trail as a rail link. We feel very strongly that, if that is going to happen, any replacement trail should be installed beforehand, and it should be at least as good, if not better, than the existing trail. I would like to hand over now to Janet Miller, who has led the work on exploring and mapping the new trail.
Thank you, Tina. When we set about this project, we had three main objectives. Firstly, as Tina mentioned earlier, we wanted to revisit the link from Buxton to the south via Woodale. This was proposed in 2011 but has never been implemented. Beyond this, we wanted to develop a comprehensive network of safe walking and cycling paths and bridleways linking Buxton with other towns and villages all the way to Matlock. Lastly, we wanted to ensure that there was a suitable replacement for the Monsell Trail should the railway reopen. In identifying where routes might be developed, we adopted a number of principles. We would focus on what was geographically possible and not at this stage be constrained by other factors. We would incorporate existing footpaths and bridleways as much as possible. We would protect the small number of businesses that currently rely on the existing Monsell Trail by making sure they were linked into the new network. We would look to develop braided routes which could have different levels of accessibility. These would converge on towns, villages and transport hubs. We would link the new routes to towns and villages along the way so that more people would benefit from having easy access to safe traffic-free routes. We believe that such a network would deliver significant benefits to the environment. It would provide the opportunity for more people to walk or cycle for school, work and shopping. Car use would be reduced, not only because the routes would be convenient for residents being on their doorsteps, but because visitors to the area would also be able to access the network directly from where they were staying or by public transport rather than having to drive to a car park. This reduction in car use would of course contribute to the Peak District National Park zero carbon goals. The alternative routes would also give access to much more varied scenery. Some of the routes we've identified have absolutely stunning views. There would also be the option to plan circular routes rather than being restricted to there and back, as with so many cycle trails. And of course, anyone who has used the Monsell Trail on a busy weekend knows that it is often incredibly busy. You can spend a lot of time just avoiding other people, which definitely detracts from the enjoyment. The proposed new routes would relieve pressure on the existing trail. There would also be considerable benefits to the local economy. The networks we're proposing link centres of population with retail, business and public transport hubs. At present, there are only a very few businesses that derive much benefit from the Monsell Trail. The new routes would protect these, but would enable a lot more businesses to benefit from visitors using the network. They would also help businesses by making it easier and more attractive for residents to shop locally. Last but not least, there's obvious benefits to health and well-being if more people are exercising regularly. We've carried out extensive research of the proposed routes, noting among other things existing rights of way, the gradients, vegetation, surface conditions, any additional infrastructure needed, and of course land ownership. We believe that we've gathered enough data now to enable us to move on to the next stage in developing this project. Derek Bodie will now explain what those next steps involve.
Hello, I'm Derek, a member of the town team like the others, and also a member of APTT. These are a really exciting set of proposals to extend the existing trail, linking it into communities and enabling all sorts of journeys to be made, not just leisure, but to school, college, work and shopping. A real opportunity to change the default way people move around this part of Derbyshire. What is being developed so far is simply what is geographically possible. It needs to be fleshed out. We hope that by working with the University of Derby's engineering department that we will be able to undertake much more detailed work, covering such areas as the scope of engineering works to lessen gradients, improve surfaces, develop technical solutions to protect the landscape and enhance access, and of course a full environmental impact assessment. This should also include an estimated cost of the works. Further work is to be done on exploring potential spurs to link even more communities together. There is also a continued need to work with the key stakeholders and the relevant landowners so that everyone is contributing to the common good and in this small way tackling our climate emergency. Lastly, sources of funding need to be identified and the resources gained for implementation.
Hello, I'm Andy Parker, Chair of the Communication Group of the Buxton Town team and partly responsible for the production of this presentation. I hope you agree that this proposal, establishing a series of braided routes through the Peak District following the Wye and Derwent valleys, brings exciting possibilities. We are all very aware that due to the pandemic, many more people are exploring and enjoying the countryside. However, there are some downsides to this. For example, recent statistics indicate that rural roads only account for 4% of cycle traffic, but they are where 25% of cycling deaths occur. Mountain rescue teams in the Peak District are attending increasing numbers of incidents as more and more walkers explore the wider countryside. Increasing visits to the national park mean greater congestion and environmental impact too, with less opportunity to enjoy the peace and tranquility. So the opportunity to open up existing paths and add a few more to link Buxton and Matlock through a variety of landscapes, whilst also linking communities with easier, more sustainable access, and therefore offering greater support for local businesses, can only be good for the safety and well-being of walkers and cyclists, as well as for the national park and the wider environment. We'd like to know what you think of these ideas. Just follow this link or scan the QR code on your phone to complete a short questionnaire.